There you
Hello,
go.
ladies and gentlemen. Are you kidding me right now? For the audio people, you didn't see this, but Taylor's like, I got this opening, and I'm like, it better be worth it. Oh, yeah, it's going to be worth it. Just you wait. It's just Boba Fett, lovely music, dancing at the Disney thing, which I'm pretty sure you've used before in the past. I think you even
I
maybe
don't
used it
think
in
I
the Mando
have.
era. And oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Boba Fett series in review. Obviously, this is going to be the first episode, and we'll be here every week. A combination of some of us, or maybe just me and Taylor, as 2 weeks in a row, Kirklin can't make it. I said I might not be able to make it this time, and Kirklin literally said, "What weakness?" And then boom, I'm definitely not clicking that link, sir, just so you know. Not going to click that. But I am the number one Kylo Ren fanboy, Trasnell, and I'm joined by... You blocked him for 5 minutes?
Oh man, I didn't even think. Did I get myself a nickname? I did get myself a nickname. I am the Pit of Carcoon Taylor Field.
What happened to my name? Where's my name? What did you take off?
I don't know why it didn't actually populate. Let's see what happens. Weird. Oh, it disappears when you put the banner there. Interesting.
Oh, I never
Okay.
knew that. Okay, that's fine. You can put the banner up for a little while. But yeah, we're here talking about Boba Fett. Obviously, it's been pretty much just about a year. Like it was in January, or no, it was in December, I guess, when Mando season 2
Yeah.
ended. So look at Taylor. He's repping some Pop Shop. Pop Shop. I'm gonna be messaging you soon. Emily found their Instagram. They don't have Twitter. But we're going to direct message you, and your guys are going to sponsor us. I've said this to Emily. We don't even need money. As long as they just give us free Pop Shop, completely down to promote them. I'm down. Especially my lime Rickies. I'm not drinking one tonight because I just brushed my teeth. But, man, if I get a lifetime supply of that'd be great. So, we got lots of stuff popping off. This might be our last cast of the year. There'll be good stuff next week. Hopefully, I'll get the bloopers together and stuff like that. But as far as our biggest cast goes, this might be our last one of the year. So, Taylor Field, when we are back in 2022, where can they find us?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast our Twitter. GeekVerse on our Facebook. And be sure to check us out on our Facebook because the Christmas fan base community poll is in the final round. It is super crazy because we are literally at the Grinch versus Jack Skellington. And I'm extremely disappointed that it wasn't Scott Calvin Santa Claus that made it in, but
One
it's the way
vote.
she goes. At this time, Jack Skellington is getting absolutely bombed hard.
As I said, he's getting
So-
beat in the streets in front of his family. He's not going well, and yeah, so you can check that out. Head over to Patreon. That is the best way to listen. Not only is the best way to listen, but if you support our podcast, the more you support us, the more content we give you, like the Matrix retrospectives, like Eyes Wide Shut, like other things coming in 2021 that we're very excited about. So go check out those things. And you also, with perks supporting us, get ad-free exclusive early episodes. Head down the links below. Everything's down there. Our 4 separate feeds, the podcast network, the audio feeds, the video feeds, our Discord. Tons of fun. I'm excited to see what our Discord thinks about this. So, yeah, as always, we're going to do our non-spoiler thoughts. We'll take a little break and then get into spoilers in case you have not seen it. Just our overall thoughts, and we'll get into it. So, I will go first, as I'm sure Taylor's super positive on this. I thought this was a fine episode. I think it's still what like the previews are that I'm waiting for to be really engaged. And I think Taylor's gonna be a bit more engaged than me, but I think some other things I can just go for as far as not like just a story. A few things. I think there's a few aspects of the show that is 100% that fans have been asked for literally for decades. So I think that's a very smart thing that they're doing right there. I think the Boba Fett fans will be excited. I think if you're just a fan of action Star Wars, I think you'll like that because there's been lots of action even this episode. Was quite short. I was pretty surprised it was only 38 minutes. I was like, I was surprised when I turned on my TV, like, oh, really? And that's probably more like half an hour or so. It kind of felt like that. I'm trying to think, like, most of my complaints are probably spoilerish. And the good thing, I guess, so far that the show is going for it, that they're not mega complaints where it's like, oh, this was bad, this was bad. I guess I just have some questions. I think that there's 2 things that I can talk about that it could be non-spoilers, and I think that'll work is the scale of the show I'm kind of questioning because there's times where they walk around in Tatooine where it feels lively, but then there's other times where it has some of those problems of Mando season 1 where it feels very small and feel very much like they're just on a set, and that kind of takes me out of it, and I have more questions to do with that. And then The other thing is it's tough with Boba Fett, right? Because we always say like, oh yeah, we don't know much about him. He's a nothing character, like it's a joke. But it's tough where I think there's some decisions that they're having him do in the show that, again, we only knew him for very little as far as the movies, and then you get some more in Clone Wars. But there's just some things where I go, like I don't even know if this is what I picture the little amount of Boba Fett that I know that he would be doing this or have this kind of feel. So I'm interested to see like if there's more storytelling to that, or if it's just kind of okay. Well, he just is the protagonist, so maybe. And what I'm kind of saying is he has to be like a little nicer, and so we'll go there. So I think it's a passable episode, but I don't think it did anything to like rock me awake. Now the good thing is like you have Robert Rodriguez, good director. Favreau wrote this. He's producing it along with Filoni. So Mando season 2 for me started slower and then it built up. So I don't think this was a bad episode. I just don't think it really, like, it didn't leave me jonesing for next week. This is one that I kind of wish could be binging the same way with Hawkeye. We were like, oh, I want to see them all. This is one where I'll do it because the podcast, unless I'm like Paul Kirklin 2 weeks in a row, fall asleep. But like, it's not like with Hawkeye and like WandaVision, like Loki, like I'm awake because I'm so excited. Luckily, I'm awake right now just because like I'm chilling out. I've had a few days off, but I didn't end this episode and be like, I can't wait for next week. So thought it was a serviceable episode, but kind of a meh for me. Like I wouldn't be recommending this to people, but where are you on this one, Taylor?
Well, going into the show again, I was kind of thinking, okay, we're going to get much more of like a political side of things, which I really love in Star Wars. I really like the political stuff. There's always agendas at play and corruption and everything. And with him coming into the show again, this isn't spoilers, but obviously he's taken into the role of like Jabba the Hutt and trying to fit into the chain of command. And I love how he says it, Tatooine. Like he says it so well. I love it. But this first episode, had me hooked. The moment it started, we got a couple things that I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, but it's cool that we're getting that flashback. Shit. I disregard what I said. We're getting some cool moments. I'm just so excited and jazzed on this episode. It's cool we got some of this stuff and some of that stuff, and it led to some other stuff, and it just kind of connected all into one episode. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm going to spoil something.
Well, there you go. So before Taylor spoils some, we will take our first ad break, and then we'll be right back. And Taylor can talk about all the flashbacks he wants. So we'll be right back. And we're back, you bastard, But no, luckily, like, people saw in previews there was going to be flashbacks, so we knew it was going to happen. I think, so here, like, on that same thing, I'll go because I'm more mixed on it, where I feel you're very positive. One, I will say that I think you didn't get much of your politics, though, in this episode. You got very little of it, so this was very action-heavy, and that's where it's like, I like the action enough, but it wasn't like, oh, man, this was the best. So the flashbacks, I think, are needed. One, we knew they were coming, but it's just, every fan has been talking about this moment for years. Like, how do you add the Sarlacc pit? There's legend books about all this stuff. So it's like, to me, it was a smart thing. To me, it was just a question of when do you do it? Do you lead with that? Is it sprinkled throughout the show and stuff like that? But they did. Excuse me. They led with it. I thought it was a really good scene. I love just the visuals of him being in the actual pit. How just claustrophobic it is. You got the stormtrooper. He's going for air and everything like that. So I liked all that. I love him climbing out. I loved a little bit with the sand people. I love them like dragging him through the desert and all the smokes in him and stuff. What I don't like is I worry that you never watched Arrow, but one of the things I hated about Arrow for like 5 seasons, it was always like half the episode was in current day and half the episode was in the past. And I worry that's what this show is going to be, because it wasn't just like, oh, here's his adventure of how he got out of there, fought some sand people, and he's gone. The sand people, like, kind of like adopting him for a little bit, I'm not a fan of, because I just don't really. This show is already a prequel, so now they're prequeling the show, and for me, it's someone that does not like prequels. I go, oh no. Luckily, Boba Fett's not in the sequel trilogy, so I go, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen to Boba Fett, but I know now with the Sand People stuff what's gonna happen to Boba Fett. He's just gonna be in the desert. He's gonna meet up with Carl Vance or whatever he is, and it's like he's gonna be looking for his armor. So I don't. I was fine. I liked the flashbacks for episode 1, 2 thumbs up. But now that I think there'll be a concurring thing, that's where in the long run it might deter me. And we'll talk about the specifics after, because I have there's definitely a certain creature I want to talk about. But what do you think about the flashbacks maybe being incorporated going forward?
I definitely see what you mean. How that can be a little bit iffy, but I'm so happy we got the flashbacks at the beginning. I thought it was super cool to see young Boba Fett in the Geonosian arena. That had me
That was
super
cool.
ecstatic. I was like, oh my god, like I was not expecting this. I hope we get more of that, like that's kind of
Camino.
stuff. But yeah, the Camino really had me shocked
That was
because
cool.
I wasn't sure if we were gonna get a little bit more of that because it was destroyed in the Bad Batch. I was like, oh, are we gonna get like flashbacks of him with Django, like which they could do. I mean, just it's the same actor, put him in the armor, Django's armor, but. I really loved all that stuff. It was such a cool nod to just that the prequel era live action, like just flushed back in. Like we got a little tidbit of that in Mando season 1 with the super battle droid, but just on that scale, it was just so cool to just get that breath of prequel era back into the timeline. And when he was in that pit of Carcoon, I loved it. He blasted his way out with his flamethrower just like he did in Legends, and it was just so cringy. When it just like flashed into that sequence, I was just like cringe and gross. I was like, oh, this is disgusting. Like I can't imagine just like waking up like you can barely breathe and you're just like dangling in this like digestive tract, and the stormtrooper's armor was like melting in the stomach acids, debris, whatever. And yeah, it's just so grody and gross, and I loved every second of it. When he came out, like I don't know how long he was in there for, but I'm just trying to like play around in my mind, like, okay, between this and him being with the Tusken Raiders, it's got to be 5 years because Mando was 5 years later, right? So
Well, I don't think you're saying he was in there for 5 years.
I don't think he was in there for 5 years because he wouldn't have anything to give him life,
Yeah.
like food. I'm just saying, like, how long did he spend with these Tusken Raiders before he went off on his own, right? I'm imagining it's a long time because they probably refused to let him leave. So
How do you feel though now? Because like I said, I think it's hype. I think that's a good idea. Show how Boba got out of there on his venture. How do you feel if this is continuing forward through all 8? We think it's 8 episodes because the way this episode worked, like you said, it reminded me of Era where it was a lot of the runtime. Like the whole ending of this episode was about the flashback, and that's the stuff where I guess for me going forward, until they make me care on the premise and what they showed me so far, I don't care about it that much of seeing his adventures. I'd rather just progress the plot forward on Tatooine.
I've seen enough of Arrow to know exactly what you're talking about, the jumping back and forth, and I hated it. It's because mostly because I didn't have a connection to the character. I didn't really know what was going on in Arrow, and it just was slow and bland and boring. And I think that's where I can come in and be a little bit biased in this sense because I enjoy it actually with Boba Fett, and it's because I know the character and I'm really into his origin and then the present day stuff that he's up to, and I like how it's kind of this back and forth. I like that. Okay, we only get that when he goes back into the Bacta tank, and I can't see it being every episode. Like he takes a beating. Get me to the Bacta tank. Like I don't see it happening every
tripped
episode.
In this episode, and the Tusken guards were like, "We gotta get him to the tank. We gotta get him to the tank." Like
he did take a heavy beating. I mean, he was getting jabbed
No,
with those.
he didn't.
Oh, did you see how many times he got stabbed with those electrical shocking poles? Oh man, he got the shit kicked out of him. But
the Bacta tank is gonna be fucking Mando's banging on drums. Like I can just see it. Like that's.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Anytime Boba Fett just fucking trips, they're gonna we gotta get him in the tank. Hurry up.
It's Jon Favreau's safe play.
Yeah, it's his go-to. I'm surprised he didn't do with Iron Man.
I do though think that again, the dynamic between the past and the present is it's a cool thing, and I'm enjoying it. The Tusken Raider stuff, I'm really liking how Jon Favreau is kind of making me want to like Tusken Raiders, because I agree. Like before, I was not like Anakin, but like
he wanted to be fucking slaughtered.
No, like I just thought like, hey, they're just barbarians. They're just marauders, pirates.
Some of them
they abduct people. Yeah, and ever since we got Mando, that completely just blew my mind. Ever since now we got this show, like just seeing this, they're still not like the bestest of friends, but they just have a very different way of life, and I'm so happy to see this portrayed in a different light. So I'm
but
really
hey,
happy
Mando still might not know what those people did to Anakin's mom. You know, he might have a whole different point of view. If you guys do that type of stuff, that's kind of messed up.
I think this clan of Tusken Raiders is they're badass compared to regular Tusken Raiders. I think this is probably the survivors of Anakin's attack.
They
They're
look like they
oh,
got Destiny gear on. Like they got like black robes.
the Knights
and
of
shit.
Ren. That's what they are.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. I can't. Here we go. This is the origin story. That'll get me going. But and then so they kidnap him. We'll talk about the flashbacks and we'll talk about the present day stuff because we're here anyways. They kidnap him. We have this whole thing where he's gonna try to escape. He kind of dismantles that like alien dog pretty easily in my opinion. And this is where, and this will come into the present day stuff too, that I'm not so sure where I feel on Boba Fett. And it's just because I've not read that much of him in Legends, just a little more like Wikipedia stuff or stuff maybe you talk about or Briggs talked about because he was a big Boba fan. But I think where my disconnect is, and I want to see, because we met Django and then we met Boba, and from at least what I gather, Boba in the original trilogy and then in Clone Wars, he seemed like a pretty cutthroat guy. He seemed like if you're in my way, I'm going to take you down, and that's that. It doesn't matter. There's a moment where he is escaping and he's running and he has a moment to kill the Tusken Raider and he doesn't. And I know that's just a little thing. And now this is episode 1, so maybe we'll learn more. But I think especially in this state where he is fighting for his life, I feel like he would take him out. And 2, I just feel like Boba Fett, the character who is a hired gun, a bounty hunter, is going to spare this Tusken Raider. I guess I just didn't buy it. He does that a few times in present days too, where so far there's just things where it's like, this just feels like, okay, he's now the protagonist of a TV show, and we can't make him too villainous because we want to sell toys to kids. He's going to be a good guy, so we got to tone Boba down a bit. And that's what it feels like to me, where in Mando, you didn't have to answer those questions because he was just an adventure. But now when he's interacting with innocent people, and it's just like, I want him alive, which could be info, but still, there's just a few things that, I don't know, like that moment, the Tusken Raider one specifically, didn't really work for me because I just don't buy that this is the same Boba so far. I feel like the Boba we knew would have just fucking curb stomped him and kept moving, but spared his life.
End of season 1 right there.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy it. Like him I don't want to say having this change of heart because I feel like it was definitely already there. So I can't call it a change of heart. Even in the Clone Wars, there are moments where Boba Fett, he makes these certain decisions that are more or less like a good guy choice. Like he's still trying like to kill people that have hurt him. Like obviously he wants to kill Mace Windu and people that get in his way. Like he'll not stop. But there are moments like even with other clone troopers and stuff like as you've seen in the Clone Wars, he's acknowledged like we don't have to hurt them, like do we? And he looks to Aura Singh and like these other evil characters are usually calling the shots and kind of imposing their will onto him. So at his core, the Boba Fett that I've kind of taken in is just, he's a hired gun. He's doing it for the credits and the bounty. But at the end of the day, if he's able to make his own conscious decisions, it's going to be a little bit for the more greater good. And that's something I always like between the difference of Django and Boba. That separates them. Django is definitely much more on like the darker side of the spectrum, and Boba Fett was somewhere more or less in the middle, but a little bit more to the lighter side in that sense. And that was just more reaffirmed with Mando. So seeing how his actions were reflected there, it just kind of made me feel much more confident in this trajectory that started off with Clone Wars and kind of going forward.
Yeah, maybe I'll be with it more as the series goes along. I think the Raider one still just bugs me just because it's just he was captured for weeks, and I just feel like why would he keep this? This is not so much morality. This is, hey, if you don't mess with this Raider, this guy could kill you. So that one was kind of a little plot armor for me. Like obviously it leads to him and this other guy, I don't know, who is the sucker fingers. What species is that? Do you know what species that is?
Yes, it's I want to say a rodent, but I think it's a Rodian. Let me just
Mr.
confirm.
Sucker Fingers and him, which has to be weird when he goes and digs in this Rodian.
It's the same species of Greedo, right?
Is it? I was wondering because I didn't know Greedo had those type of fingers with the little suckers at the bottom.
The little suckers. Yeah, he's a Rodian. That's what they
look like. Yeah, but like so. Anyways, they go, okay, well, oh, there's a hole in my pants. Cool. They go, okay, well, you're gonna dig and find us some water. I'd love to know the origins of. I guess these are just like some nuts or something. Or
I have
something
no
like
fucking clue what these things are.
Yeah, just like there's just random water containers around Tatooine that they dig for us. It's like, all right, I'll allow it. Like I don't know the origin of this, but cool. So Sucker Fingers and Boba, they're digging, and Boba has this great moment where he breaks the water, he drinks it for himself, and the youngling Tusken's like, hey, no, you can't do that. So just like to punish him, he like gives it to like the space dog, and
I love that.
That was good. Yeah, and then Bo after he's like, no hard feelings, right, to the space dog. So that all stuff was good. I did not like Goro. I did not like this creature. This is one of these things where it completely just comes down personal preference. Some creatures or some aliens feel like, oh, that's Star Wars, and some don't. This felt sci-fi, and he didn't look the greatest. He did not look like they had the good like high budget whatnot. Like I did not like the look of him. I didn't like everything, and he's supposed to be this super strong creature, I'd imagine. So I didn't buy Boba, who is very weak, who is desperately needing water, that Boba could jump on his back and strangle the life out of this creature. I wish there was like another way they got to that somehow. So I didn't really like that segment at all. Like it wasn't awful, but I didn't like the look of it. Like just as the design, didn't really feel 2 stars to me. I didn't like the actual CGI of it, and then it kind of felt anticlimactic. I get what they're going for as far as okay, this Boba guy, he is useful. He took out this thing. They take the head back to the village. So I get the plot reason of why it was there. I think that all made sense. It's just a particular set piece. I didn't thoroughly enjoy that creature. And like you said, I don't know if that's from Legends or if it's a whatever. We'll know tomorrow whether it's a new thing or some nerds going, wow, in chapter 58 of this one, like, but whatever it is, I was not dinging it. And I'm happy though too. At first I thought we were getting another crate dragon. I was like, we just did this in Mando, like let's not do it. But now in retrospect, maybe I wish it was a crate dragon, because he looked like a combination between Goro and there's a Pokemon who's like a big stone guy.
Machamp.
Yeah, he looked like Majoro. You know, that's what he is.
Majoro.
That's who he looked like. So, what do you think of this Majoro set scene? He takes out this monster. We lost Sucker Fingers, but he gained the trust of the Tusken people.
Yeah, the Rodian was quite humorous just to be in this whole sequence, because as soon as Boba was like, hey, I can get you out of here, the Rodian's like, yeah. Call him for help, because apparently he likes being a prisoner. And then he's finding the water stuff in the sand, and he just gets fucking bopped by Majoro. So that didn't go his
terrible
way.
death. He just like I don't even think he got strangled. It looked like he just got his chest like collapsed into the sand.
Into the sand, yeah,
not good.
But yeah, I think the whole thing with this new alien, I'm gonna call it new because I went to Google. I was trying to find out its species and everything. And if you know, fans, let us know. Yep. Send us a message. I'd love to know, because I'm going to be Googling
S-Bubs.
it. S-Bubs, we need to know.
Yeah.
But it definitely did feel a little bit out of place. It didn't feel like something native to Tatooine. No. And I'm kind of curious what the choice was to go with that. Like even just like its claws and everything. Like I was super excited to see like when Rodian was digging and you could see the scales like under the sand. I was like, oh, this is something cool. It could have been like it just made sense to be something like a crate dragon, but not necessarily a crate dragon, like a long like lizard or something like that in the sand. But the way it moves,
done a smaller crate dragon, like a child, like a teen or whatever, like one growing, because I don't know what size they go from small to big. But I guarantee there has to be some crate dragons out there that aren't just like massive at birth, right? So
yeah, so I definitely have my own kind of setbacks with it, but I will say though, to me, I found the CGI like style of it to be pretty good. There were moments that I think they jump between the practical and the CGI, and I'm definitely a huge advocate for that when companies do that, and I liked it. I like the sequence of him just getting this adrenaline rush and just jumping on the back, because hey, that's Boba Fett, he's a badass, and he's just choking this thing out. I really laughed.
He's
channeling his Padme. I shouldn't say I loved. I found it extremely humorous when the little Tusken was like running, carrying the head afterwards, just how it cut to that scene. It really made me laugh, but yeah, I thought that was good.
Well, let's take our last ad break here, and then we'll talk about the stuff in the present day. So we'll be right back. And we're back. I forgot to ask you, Taylor, was there anything in those flashbacks before, as I said, the last thing in the present, but was there anything that I hadn't shot out that you wanted to point out?
Yeah, the Camino, the Geonosis Arena, the Sarlacc pit. Did he have any other flashbacks? I'm wondering. No, just that he was telling Fennec that, hey, I was having more like of the dreams and stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah,
so that's how we talked about earlier. He's in the Bacta tank, just like healing up, because if he just stubs his toe, Boba Fett's done. You know, that's why Han Solo took him out in Return of the Jedi. He was blinded, just hit him once, it was over. But
he's looking good though.
He's looking better. I don't know if he's looking good, but he's looking better. So here's I guess I don't know if we talked about this on the Mando season 2. I doubt we did because I was probably just hyped from that episode, and plus it's just like cool Boba Fett show. I think for me, I'm so far having problems with that. That Boba Fett just walked into this palace, shot Bib Fortuna, and it's just like he's the guy. And like for me, when you look at Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi, now I get lots of people died off stuff like that, but there was tons of guards, tons of people, right? Who knows what happened with Bib Fortuna, but I would imagine there should have been at least like a unit of people. But it just feels like he had his like 3 guards from the Mando season 2. He had him, he killed him. It's just like, okay, not, and I'd be fine if Boba was like, okay, I've taken over Jabba's palace. But it seems like he's taken over Jabba's palace and he's still like the number one top of the food chain. Other than the one people, everyone's coming from tributes and whatnot. And for me, I get it. Fennec, well, is she that dangerous? She lost a fucking Toro Calitan. You know, like, is she that dangerous? No, come on now. And then you got Boba, who lost all blind Han Solo. I guess so far you got them two and the blind, or not the blind, they are not blind at all. The
Gamorrean guards.
Gamorrean guards. I always forget their names. So you have these 4. I guess for me, and this is why I was talking about scale and non-spoilers, I just don't buy that everyone in Tatooine would be bowing down to these people right away. I think I'd be fine more of like, hey, they've taken over and they got to get up. But the fact that they have people coming in like as tributes, stuff like that, I don't really. I'm just not buying it. It just does. It feels weird that he can just shoot Bib Fortuna and then it's just completely all his. Like, okay, here we go. And the fact that it's just like these 4 fuckers are just like, yeah, we run Tatooine now, and it's like, do you?
Well,
I don't know. I get Boba Fett carries a scary name, but you know.
I think you answered your own question there because yeah, you have these select characters like. I can't remember the name of that one species, the first one that offers tribute. Then you have the Trandoshan that offers the Wookiee pelt. I feel like, okay, these characters, either they're just afraid and they just want to suck up and get in good, or they have a long con plan like, hey, I'm going to give you a little bit of this right now, and then I'm going to come back and take it back later because we're not really afraid. We know in the trailers that there is meetings with more Trandoshans, so I feel like that could kind of take place. They could all have just been like, you know, if a new boss takes over, you want to sweet talk them, right? You don't want to just make them your enemy until you can counteract them and come at them, right? So if you give them like a Wookiee pelt here or something tribute here, just keep them in your good graces, and then you can retaliate later on. Like I think we saw, I feel like this attack on them in this episode was the result of all these people paying tribute, just kind of like screwing them over in relation with like the mayor of Mos Espa and all that jazz.
I guess my whole thing was like, oh, when there's a new boss, you want to like suck up to him a little bit. I just don't understand why he's the boss. You know, like when he walks into that mayor's thing, he's just like, oh, and I'll make sure your whole club runs as fine as usual. It's like you probably have no fucking idea what they do. Like you have no idea their schedule. Now maybe they do, but I guess just the suddenness of it all to set up the show. That's where I'm not really enjoying. That's where it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's just not the idea of what I want for the Boba Fett show and what they're doing. It's like, okay, I don't like the idea and the execution. I just feel like it's a little, I feel like we're skipping some steps. I feel like this should be like the start of season 2 for Boba Fett. I guess I never really thought of it when we got that end credit last year, but it's just weird where it just feels like he feels like he's a pay to win guy. It feels like he like just bought the game and then he spent another $60 to be like high ranked. And like, but what about all the work you got to put in and everything like that, you know? So maybe we'll see some bit more of that. And then, yeah, we got that mayor set with the Twi'leks. And, man, I'll stand by this. For how good female Twi'leks look, men Twi'leks look so bad. Just so bad. There's not been a single male Twi'lek.
That green male Twi'lek who cleaned Boba's helmet, he was looking pretty good.
I'd say he was jacked. I don't know if he's looking pretty good. I think it's just something about the way, like, the tendrils for the males, because they're a bit more, like, pointy, like straight out, and where the girls are nice, like floppy and everything like that. But yeah, so they go to the who was it? The Twi'leks. Like they talk about this mayor character, so I'm sure we'll see them. He was the only one that like he sent like a consultant. There was no tribute, and that was kind of like a standoff. Like, oh, you should send us a tribute. They go there just to make good, and on their way out, they're being attacked by who knows who. We don't know. There's just a bunch of guys. They're kind of hooded. They have like burgundy sort of clothes on. They have like energy shields and swords. I will say there's one great moment where Boba Fett just blows the fuck out of that one guy on the wall.
Oh, that guy's done. He's not coming back.
And I get after because they show the scene of Fennec running after the other guys that went on the roof. But at first I thought she was going up there to take that guy out. It's like she's all like he's done, Fennec. Like you don't need to go check on that body. So yeah, Boba got punched once. He was done. And then Fennec, it looks like she got some guy that's hopefully going to give them some information. And then that was kind of it because then he got put in the tank and then we got the flashback for the end of the episodes. That's why I said like felt like lots of it was flashback or the majority. So I hope that's not a recurring thing, but I bet you it's going to be. So I liked all the action stuff. It was cool to have the ambush. The action scene was like all good enough. Nothing that like blew away anything from Mando and stuff. Again, I wonder how I feel about, like, I wonder how I feel. I don't know how I feel about when Boba walks in the bar and immediately takes off his helmet because I'm just so used to, like, he keeps the helmet on. That's the thing. And I know what happened to Mando. But Mando, it felt like, oh, there was some reason. This is, like, any chance he gets to take that helmet off, he'll take it off like there's no tomorrow. So, like I said, all that present-day stuff was a mix of, there's some stuff I liked, some stuff I didn't. How did you feel on them going to the Twi'leks, the attack, stuff like that? Anything you want to point out there?
Yeah, they're going to the Twi'lek, the little like club scene. I love that remix Cantina band jazz. Like that was super cool. The astromech droid playing the drums, everything. It was such a cool environment. I was really digging that. I enjoyed the setup. And I'm curious to see where that's going to go because again, I feel like all these leaders of their own like parts of Mos Espa and Tatooine are all against him and out to get him. But again, I really enjoyed that fight scene. I love when the Gamorrean guards came in and just started like cutting guys' throats and just going to town. It was super cool to see them kind of get the spotlight. And when we got, you said it, Boba Fett just blows that guy up with his wrist rocket. And we got Fennec just doing full on Assassin's Creed on the rooftops. Like, I am loving this. This is super cool. Yeah, I loved everything about that. It was just such a great time. And yeah, you're right. Fennec did capture that one guy, so we'll get to see what happens. But they did jump back to the past beforehand when he was dumped in the bacta tank. So I'm I'm curious, but I also think that at the same time, them dabbling between the past and the present is just... I feel like, okay, maybe they weren't sure if they could get a second season. So they're thinking, okay, going in...
Oh, come on. It's Boba Fett. They're going to... If they want a second season, they can get a second season.
I genuinely do think, like, okay, like, let's go into this show without the intention of maybe that we can get that second season, just in case, like, there is problems with it. Who knows? And so here we have them going and thinking, okay, let's try and write this going forward as if there's, okay, like, two stories. We're going to tackle the past and we're going to tackle the present and just try and slowly progress forward leading up to this penultimate, finale that takes place in the present. So
we know how Kathy works. She could cut the cord at any moment.
Well, you never know, but at the same time, like, I feel like I would love to see more Boba Fett, but I do feel like maybe some of them were maybe concerned. Some of them were like, okay, hey, let's just do this as, let's think of it and treat it like it's gonna be one season. And once we get through that, if we get that second season or when we get that second season, then we don't have to do any more flashbacks or anything. We can just do like concurrent. And again, it's the safe route like they did with The Mandalorian, because Mandalorian season 1, it had those flashback moments, and not that it's like
moments
safe,
though. It'd be just like a little slice of the episode.
It was definitely
like
less
half majority, and that's where for me I'll be the more cynic, where I think that there's a chance they took the story and they went, okay, we could do two things. We could do the, how he escaped, that whole story of how he returned, or the present day where he's taking over Jabba's palace and he's going to be a crime syndicate leader, all this stuff. I think there's a chance that they looked at both stories and they went, we don't have enough to fill a whole show with one of these storylines, so let's just put them together, Or maybe they were riffing off, they wanted to do the flashbacks, they had more ideas, but that to me is like, we'll see how in depth. Like, that's what I got from this show, and I think that's why, if you're a Star Wars fan, I guess almost final thoughts too, like, I think you're going to enjoy it. I think this reminds me a lot of, and that's some Mando episodes did, I think it evolved, but this reminds me a lot of like a Clone Wars Bad Batch, almost live action, where I think like there'll be some like fun cameos, maybe some big stakes, but I don't think we're going to get anything as big as Mando, where it's like, oh, Luke Skywalker popped up, or like we're maybe setting up like the Emperor with, cloning or whatever it might be. Like, I don't think it'll be anything like that. I think this is just going to be like, if you like Star Wars, you want more of that world, this is there. And that's where, again, overall, I did enjoy it. I didn't run away being like, man, I can't wait for next week. I kind of forgot it was this week too, and I feel like next week I'll kind of forget again too. But yeah, we'll have to see. Dr. Derby says, I just finished the episode. Great way to open the series. Not as great as Mando so far. I'm curious how it goes. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely like both Mando premieres for 1 and 2 better than this one, but we'll see. Like I said, it's I think it's a at least it's a nice appetizer till we get to Kenobi, because for me Kenobi's the main event next year. That's the show that I'm expecting to be blown away each episode. This is just okay. It's a fun adventure with Boba Fett, and I got some stuff in here I liked. Was there anything from this episode you want to point out or shout out?
Oh, I mean, I think that pretty much covers all of it. Like, I'm just so happy to be back in the Star Wars universe. It's just been such a consistent stream of Marvel for the past while. And I'm so happy to be back in the Star Wars universe because
You got Bad Batch.
we got Bad Batch, but even then that was quite a while ago, right? Like that was
Yeah.
back in August. So it's just nice to have the live action Star Wars, I'll say. And it just feels great, and I'm excited to see where they go with this because, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I'm big into Star Wars politics. The trailers had me sold because he's just delving into building relationships with the, members of the other clans or crime syndicates, all that jazz. And I'm happy that a lot of the trailer scenes and lines were in this episode, because that means we've got a whole whack load of other episodes that have so much new content that we haven't seen yet. And that gets me excited.
Oh yeah, that's good. Same with Mando. They kind of did that. It was like the first 3 episodes or whatnot. So, well, either way, every week for while Boba Fett's going on, there'll be a combination of us or one of us. You'll get some reviews going on and stuff like that. Maybe we'll hear. Maybe Kirklin next week can give his Hawkeye review with his Boba Fett #1 review. But yeah. He's just going to do a catch-up episode. But, yeah, we'll be here. If you liked this episode, if you disliked it, let us know. And same thing with our theories or thoughts, whether it's the YouTube, the Facebook, the Twitter, or join Discord. We always have lots of fun when these shows pop up. I guess you're going to have to make a Discord Boba Fett channel probably now, right? I guess.
I think I already
one?
made one.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, we already got one.
Well, it's been dead for a while, so hopefully this gives it some life and everything like that. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week. Hope you enjoy this episode. And if this is the last time you hear from us, have a happy new year, a safe new year. Obviously, lots of people are just staying indoors, but still, you can have fun. Watch some movies, get some snacks, order a pizza, get some Red Swan pizza, right, Taylor Field, if you got it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, get some Pop Shop. GeekVerse is looking for you. We want you. Come on, man. You want to sponsor us. But until next week, may the force be with you.
Always.